So we just went over mercantilism, but there are other reasons besides imperial policy of what we always think of: the Stamp Act, the Tea Act. There's other things that are going to set in motion this division. And one of them is this idea that they are now Americans. Yes, they have English rights, but they are Americans. They're a little bit different, and we've seen that in the French and Indian War. Can y'all tell me the name of that general that really made the Americans feel like that they were not English? The one that got shot, Braddock's?
Oh.
Yeah, I remember he got shot because how was he treating?
He said they were turtles.
They were slow. He wasn't giving them positive enforcement, right? He was being negative with them. And we're going to see the French and Indian War is really going to be that basis of them feeling different than the English. Also, another reason why they feel different from the English is because they've always been dissenters. The people who fled England from the beginning were dissenters. Can y'all tell me the religious group that was dissenting against England? They were dissenting against the Protestants in the Church of England, the Puritans. They came over, and did they have dissenters within themselves? A guy and a girl. Anne Hutchinson and Roger Williams. Okay, even then, even in Virginia, we had people dissenting against the planter oligarchy. Who were those people?
Squatters.
Those are squatters who go to North Carolina, yes, but a group of people who like to sizzle. Bacon's Rebellion. Okay. Looking at this, by nature, Americans don't follow rules. When the proclamation line was established saying they could not move west, did they listen? No. Mercantilism, did they listen? No. Even when I get to the 1920s and prohibition is put in place, are the Americans going to listen to no alcohol being produced in the United States? No. Americans by nature are dissenters. Okay, they're just like bona fide teenagers. Okay, next thing, authority. When the authority is far away, are you going to listen to it? No, so if you go off to college and your parent calls you, they're like, Luke, are you taking your vitamins? Are you doing your homework? Are you going to class? Luke is going to be, yes, ma'am, I am. And then he's going to be doing other things, right? Because the authority is so far away. And so the colonists, did they have a highly centralized government that was there telling them what to do? No, because the authority was so far away. Did they listen? The other thing is that when the colonies were established, did England come in and roll out the land for them, put up government buildings, deal with the Indians? No, they did it on their own. And so this whole idea of self-reliance and that they could do things on their own is really going to help and encourage the revolution. The other thing that we're going to see is the rights of an Englishman. Over centuries, these rights have been added. For example, the Magna Carta is the one that says that the king is not going to be an absolute ruler. He is limited by Parliament, a governing body. The petition right, didn't we see that in that reading that they were petitioning the king? They were writing the king to address the grievances. The other thing, habeas corpus. I'm going to talk about what this word is. Do y'all know what corpus means? It is Corpus Christi. Corpus means body. It is a body of water by the bay. Okay? Corpus means body. Okay? Habeas, why it is held. So when you commit a crime, do they tell you why your body is being held? Yes. Last thing, all of these things will be encapsulated in the English Bill of Rights, and we're going to read through them today because this will be the justification for rebellion. So the first thing, the people have the right to be represented in the government. In that document we read today, did we see this argument that the people had a right to a representative government? Who did they say was their government continuously? This committee. Who is this committee? Have they been asserting their right to be represented by the House of Burgesses? And they've been saying, who does not have the right to represent us? The king and who else? Because their representatives were in what? In England, but where were theirs? The colonies. In the House of Burgesses, Virginia. Only the people, through their elected representatives, have the right to levy taxes and enact laws. Isn't that what they were upset about in that first paragraph? They said England is trying to put taxes on us. Isn't this what mercantilism is about? They're upset about it because they feel that the crown should not be able to tax them. They should only legislate them. The next thing, every person accused of wrongdoing has the right to be tried fairly and to be judged by juries of his equals. Okay, we saw this in the document today. What was not fair in that trial that they were arguing about? They had to go to England, right? Was that fair? And eventually, y'all saw in the Amorality Courts on question 12, it is a court without what? Juries. And you are guilty until proven innocent. Is that what they knew as their rights? You're usually innocent until proven guilty. And they're going to be upset about this. The next thing, an arrested person has the right to a writ of habeas corpus, a court order entitling him to be informed of the charges against him. Usually when you're booked, they're telling you why you are booked, right? The next thing, you're going to be given a speedy trial. Is it a speedy trial if they have to go overseas? No, this is what they're arguing. To be released on bail while awaiting a decision in a case. If they're in England, are they going to be released on bail? No. So again, that grievance, that petition we saw today in that document was addressing really their rights being violated. Any person may not be arrested and a person's home may not be entered and searched without a written court order or warrant. We know that as one of our amendments, right? Do a lot of these sound like our amendments today?
Yeah.
Yes. Soldiers may not be lodged in a private home without the permission of the owner. Did y'all see something on your study guide about that?
Yeah.
The Quartering Act. And this is why they had to come out with the act, because it was violating one of their rights. The people have the right to ask the government to correct the abuses and injustices. Wasn't what the letter was about. They were like, oh, you father of the people, right? They were buttering him up, right? They were saying, look at this stuff. Please understand that we are asking you to fix this. So this is what the revolution is about. It's about petitioning the king, petitioning parliament that what is being violated. Their rights of an Englishman. Right? The last thing we have to talk about is the Enlightenment. And I know y'all covered this in world history, so I'm going to bridge version this. And I'm going to give you a little note set about the Enlightenment. This is just a cartoon history. It is done by Jody Potts from SMU. So eventually next year in government, you will be reading these people because you will have to know, like, I think 12 documents or something like that for y'all's test in that AP subject. So I'm going to use this to review the Enlightenment. So I'm going to take off this. If I can get myself straight. Okay. So I know you talked about this last year, but just let me review you for the sake of reviewing you and to catch up those of you who may have been absent during this time or who don't remember. So what we're looking at is the Enlightenment. I'm going to look right here. It affirmed man's capacity to reason and thus discover for himself the truths about the universe, man, and God. So can they, looking at that letter we read today, were they giving a reasoned document to a government official to discourse about something, to go over stuff? Were they reasoning? Yes. Okay. The Enlightenment emphasized man's freedom and ability to think for himself. And this is a little bit different because people used to have absolute kings. Whatever they said went. Whatever the Pope said went. But now are people beginning to question those authorities? And in that letter today, did we see the questioning of that authority and the begging of him, right? I'm skipping this because this talks about Newton. I'm flipping to the back side. We're going to look at two specific Enlightenment thinkers because they will influence what will go on in the revolution. The first guy I'm going to look at, his name is John Locke. Natural law gives each human three natural rights: life, liberty, and property. Is that how you know it? No, y'all know it as what? Because Thomas Jefferson is going to use life, liberty, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to plagiarize the guy, but I don't change that third word. So he says, pursuit of happiness. But is Thomas Jefferson influenced by this guy? Yes, so let's read about what his philosophy is and how he influences Jefferson. He says, reason tells us that life is essential to being human. Liberty is essential to protecting one's life, and property is essential for things to sustain life. People infringe on each other's rights, so through a social contract, they form a government whose sole purpose is to protect these three rights. Okay? Were the people doing this? Were they informing their government that their rights were not being protected? In that letter today, did we see them saying, look, this is our right, this is our right, this is our right, dear King, we beseech you to protect them? Isn't this what they were doing? John Locke gave him the idea of that letter. Okay? So the people, they elect agents to govern them, but retain their sovereignty. What does that word sovereignty means? This word sovereignty means what? Power. Who has the sovereignty in your house? Is it the kids or is it the parents? The parents. You like to think it's you, but it's the parents, right? Because they hold the pocketbooks. Alright? So, the people elect agents to govern them, but retain their power. So who did they feel that they elected in that letter today to govern them? Was it Parliament or was it the House of Burgesses? The House of Burgesses. They said if these agents fail to protect these people's rights to life, liberty, and property, they may be deposed. What does that mean? If these agents fail to protect these people's rights to life, liberty, and property, they may be deposed. What does that mean? Deposed. Does it sound good? No. So it's negative, right? So they may be deposed. Removed, taken out. Exactly. Isn't that what the revolution is about? That their rights were not protected, so they're saying, peace out, we're done with you, King. So Locke's ideas will influence Thomas Jefferson in the writing of the Declaration of Independence. We already figured that out with line 1, okay? Let's go to the next one, and we're going to read about Adam Smith. I'm going to come right here to where it says capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system based on the laws of supply and demand. It was adopted by the Founding Fathers. I'm going to read the 3 things, and I want you to tell me which of them are being violated. Capitalism involves 3 rights: the right to own private property, to free enterprise to work as you please, and to make and keep a profit. According to the colonies, they're going to look at Adam Smith and saying, wow, those things are being violated. What would be being violated for them? 3, to keep a profit, because where did all their gold have to go? Through taxation. Is there anything else that is being violated? Work as they please, because what was the other thing they could not do in the colonies? Factories. They could only produce raw materials. So is Adam Smith going to resonate with the colonies of why they need to revolt? The last thing, we're going to go back. So I'm gonna do Thomas Paine with y'all later. The last thing we will look at is imperial policy. Okay? This is the last thing we will do, and I'm going to give you something to go over this with.